Have you ever wondered how psychologists actually come up with these huge, complex theories about who we are? I mean, it can all seem so complicated. But today, we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to look at the blueprint, the essential recipe, really, that pretty much every major personality theory follows. Okay, let's get into it.
Just stop and think about that for a second. How in the world do you even begin to explain a person? You've got all their hopes, their fears, their weird habits, their quirks, everything. It's honestly one of the biggest questions out there, and it's the fundamental challenge every single personality theorist is trying to solve. And here's the secret, the thing that helps them get a handle on all that complexity. Every theory of personality, it's basically a map. Yep, a map. It's a guide to the human mind that tries to chart the terrain, explain all the forces at play, and show us the path from where we start in life to who we ultimately become. So today, we're going to learn how to read that map.
Right. So every good map has to start by pointing out the most important features of the landscape, right? The mountains, the rivers, the cities. Well, in personality, this first step is all about defining the basic building blocks of who we are. What are the fundamental components we're all made of?
This is what theorists call structure. It's the what of personality. You know, what are the pieces? Are we made of a bunch of stable traits? Or is it more about our core beliefs? Or maybe it's our sense of self? This is the first and absolutely the most crucial question any theory has to answer. And what's so fascinating is just how different the answers are. You've got a theorist like Gordon Allport who saw our personality as just a collection of traits, things like honest or shy. But for Carl Rogers, the core building block was something else entirely. For him, it was all about the relationship between yourself, who you think you are, and your ideal self, who you wish you were. And then you get someone like Eysenck, who just boiled it all down to three huge dimensions he called PEN: psychoticism, extroversion, and neuroticism. See, each theory starts with a completely different set of landmarks on the map. Okay, so we've got our landmarks. Now the map needs to show the forces that actually create movement. You can think of these as the invisible currents or the winds or the energies that are constantly pushing and pulling us through life. I mean, what makes us do anything? This is the idea of dynamics. It's basically the motivational engine room of our personality. So if structure is the what, dynamics is the why. It's trying to get at the source of our energy, our drives, and our deepest motivations. And again, the theories offer some wildly different engines to explain this whole thing. For someone like Freud, we're driven by these deep, unconscious instincts and anxieties we don't even know we have. But for a behaviorist like B.F. Skinner, the driving force isn't inside us at all, it's external. We're just moved by patterns of reward and punishment. Albert Bandura said a key driver is your own belief in your ability to get things done, what he called self-efficacy. And then you have the humanists, like Rogers and Maslow, who thought we're all powered by this amazing innate drive to grow and reach our full potential, the self-actualizing tendency. So we have the landmarks, and we have the forces. The next part of our map has to chart the actual journey. It needs to show the route we all take from being a baby to being an adult, explaining how all those structures and dynamics come together over time.
And this is the developmental component. It's the origin story, you could say. It's the how of our personality. It answers those big questions like, when is our personality really formed? Does it keep changing throughout our lives? And what experiences are the ones that are most important in shaping us?
And this really shows you the different perspectives so well. For Freud, the map of your personality is pretty much drawn in early childhood. Those core routes are set really early on. But for someone like Erikson, development is this lifelong journey, with new pathways and challenges opening up at every single stage of life. And then for the trait theorists, they tend to believe our personality kind of solidifies and becomes pretty stable once we hit our teenage years.
Now, look, no map of human nature would be complete if it didn't account for the times we get lost, right? A really good theory needs to explain why we struggle, and just as importantly, it needs to offer us a way to find our way back.
This first part is called psychopathology. It's the theory's explanation for the detours, the reasons we experience psychological pain or anxiety or just can't seem to function. It's the part of the map that points out the potential hazards and shows what happens when the system breaks down.
So the crucial point here is that each theory points to a totally different reason for getting lost. For Freud, you're stuck because of some unresolved conflict buried deep in your unconscious. For Rogers, the problem is this painful gap between your real self and your ideal self. And for cognitive theorists, the detour is caused by distorted thoughts and irrational beliefs that are basically leading you down the wrong path.
But just identifying the problem, that's only half the story. The real power of any of these theories lies in its ability to offer a solution, a way to correct your course and find a better path forward.
This is the change or intervention piece. It's the part of the map that gives you directions for getting back on track. You can think of it as the theory's how-to guide for personal growth, for therapy, and for real positive change.
And what you see here is just a perfect pairing. It makes so much sense. If a theory says the problem is an unconscious conflict, like Freud's did, then of course the solution it offers is psychoanalysis, which is designed to bring that conflict into the light. If the problem is faulty learning, like Skinner said, well, his solution is behavior modification, to learn new, better responses. Each new route is designed specifically to solve that theory's version of the detour.
So, there you have it, the 5 essential questions that form the blueprint of pretty much any personality theory you'll ever come across. I want you to think of this as your new toolkit. From now on, anytime you encounter a new theory, from Freud to the Big Five, you can use these 5 questions to break it down and really understand exactly how it works. What are we made of? What drives us? How did we get here? Why do we struggle? And how can we improve?
And that leaves us with one final and I think pretty fascinating question. Now that you know how to read the map, which of these theories, which landmarks, which forces and journeys, which ones seem to resonate most with your own life? Which theory offers the map that feels the most like, well, you? That's definitely something to think about.